So with summer just around the corner, as well as Father's Day and all the outside activities, the barbecues, the grilling, the hanging out with family, we wanted to create a really cool way to give a gift to a guy, maybe a grill master, someone that loves barbecues, someone that is really good at making ribs or whatever it may be. And this is the grand finale as far as assemblies go for our Grillin' and Chillin' bundle, and it's a grill. And I have the pieces here in front of me, so let's take a look at what I have. It's really straightforward, actually. We're gonna put this together methodically in segments, and then everything is just gonna kind of come together in the end here. So the bottom of the actual grill is gonna be the container for our little gift. Okay, and let's take a look at what we have here. We're gonna start with these two large pieces here, and I've already kind of pre-folded some things off camera just to kind of keep the pace and keep the momentum here. But you can see this is 1/2 of the actual box. You'll notice that there are longer, wider tabs, and then there's a series of shorter tabs here as well. And what we're doing, this is gonna be the top. We're gonna create a nice little lip to give this a nice finished, polished look. Okay, so we're gonna grab this piece as well. And again, keep the smaller tabs up on top, the larger tabs on the bottom, and this is gonna be the actual bottom of our box. Okay, so let me fold these back a little bit. I do need to get them out of the way temporarily while we assemble the two sides of this. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna join these two to create one solid piece. And I'm gonna begin, actually I didn't fold this right here, I wanna do that. I'm gonna begin by putting my glue on this tab here. And of course, I just cleaned my bottle. And I was sitting there for a minute and decided that it wanted to clog up on me. But anyway, let's get our glue on this tab. I'm working my glue out to the very edge with my finger. Okay, and what you can do is just lay this down flat. Whatever angle you need to do this, just do it where it's comfortable. Get the little score lines lined up so that everything is nice and aligned, and then you can just push this over right onto the inside of the other piece. Give that a few seconds to get its hold, and then you can flip it over so that the edge of that seam that we just joined is visible here. And then you can kind of give that an extra press just to make sure that that really gets a good hold. Okay, now actually, while we have this flat, well, we can technically glue the other side of this down and close this up, make it all continuous. And then we're gonna put some panels on while we can. Okay, so next tab is here. We're gonna do the same thing. Let me clean off the tip of this thing. There we go. And let's get our glue on this tab here. Nice fine line right up along the edge. And just run your finger, or if you want, you can use a scrap piece of paper. I just find that I have the most control with my finger. I like to be able to feel it. Okay, you can lay that down just like so, and literally just fold this over onto itself. Just make sure that those score marks are nice and lined up. And it should lie nice and flat. Like that, and we can fold it over onto that seam, just like we did the first time. And give that a little press. Make sure that that gets a good hold. Okay, now while this is still flat, there are some things that we can do to kind of get this thing prepped. I need to press that a little bit more. Okay, now this is gonna be the front. You can see that there's a series of little score marks on here. We're not gonna put this on flat because well, it's going to be raised. We're going to use some foam squares to kind of elevate that a little bit. Now, this is where all of our little knobs are going to go, our little control knobs to turn the gas on. Okay, I'm going to fold this over just for a moment so that when I align this, I can make sure that I've got it nice and flush at the top here. Okay, and you know, we could do this either now or later. I'm just going to do it now just to get it out of the way. And you'll notice that on the front of this, I've already put 4 of the 5 knobs on there. We cut ours in a silver foil. I have one more to show you how I did it. It's pretty straightforward. And it's a symmetrical piece, so it doesn't matter which side is left and which side is right. But when you're applying this, just make sure it's nice and flush with the very top here and that you have it aligned left and right. Okay, now we can put it down flat and press down so that it sits nice and flush for us. And I think I did a good job there. Yep, that looks good. Okay, as I mentioned, I kind of already put 4 of the 5 control knobs on here, little gas burners. I'm just going to do 1 real quick, so I don't have to do 5 because that's going to get kind of monotonous for you. I'm using my little pick-me-up tool, putting a little bit of glue on there, and you'll notice that on this black strip here, there are a series of little identifiers and score marks to help you make sure that this is placed nice and evenly so that the distance is perfect. It's just going to make it look really professional once it's all said and done. Okay, now the side here, we do have some panels that we're going to put on there. Okay, so it's these panels here, just like that. So each side is going to get one of these. And again, take a look here. The ones on the front are a lot smaller, and they also have some little identifiers here to help you with the placement of the pieces. So don't use that for the side. You want the larger foil pieces for the side. Okay, so I'm just going to get my glue on here. And we do want this, when we apply it, to have a nice, in my case, red border going all the way around. Okay, so it's kind of just like an inset little piece. There we go. And before you put it down, just kind of hover it above for a second. Just make sure that you've got it nice and centered. Do your best to get a nice even border all the way around. And then just run your fingers along the perimeter. Make sure that that gets a good hold. And then you can kind of work the center here. There we go. That's going to stiffen this box up too. It's going to make it a lot more durable. Okay, there we go. There's one side. That looks pretty good. Now we can flip it over to the other side and repeat the same process here. Oh, now all of a sudden it wants to start spewing out the glue. It's got a mind of its own. I'm going to work some of that away so it doesn't come squirting out and making a mess. I'm probably going to give this one to my dad. I got my dad a smoker for Christmas, I think. And he's making some pulled pork for Memorial Day this weekend. Him and my mom are kind of working on it together. I'm not sure that they've ever made pulled pork, but it kind of challenged my mom to try it, so we'll see how that turns out. Okay, again, just kind of make sure that those sides are making good contact all the way around. Okay, so we've got one side, we've got the other side. Not doing anything else for this. So what we can do now is let's build the box. Okay, and we're going to do that by applying glue to those 3 tabs there and then closing up the bottom. So work your glue onto the tabs, and then of course I'm going to throw a little bit right along the very edge so that it's nice and clean. And just steady hand. Nice and consistent, if possible. Beautiful. And then just take your finger or whatever device you want to use to spread that out to the very edge, so that when we close it up, it's going to look like it's all just one solid piece. Okay, and then we can take this and flare these tabs up so that as we push this down, it makes contact with more of that surface. And then focus on this side here, the side opposite of the side that's already hinged, and focus on getting that nice and perfectly aligned, because that will ensure that the rest of this falls into place precisely as well. Just run your fingers along the very edges here, all the way around a couple times. And then once you've got that contact and the glue gets a little tacky, you can flip it over, grab a dowel or whatever it is that you have. I just grabbed the first thing that I found because time is of the essence. And just press that down, let that get a good hold. Check your work. I'm gonna just give this a little twirl, and that looks great. Okay, now, one other thing too is we do have this little piece. You'll notice that in the corner, there's a little L that is cut into it, and that stands for liner. And you can put glue right on this, or you could have put glue right in there. Either way, it doesn't matter. You're gonna pop that right in and just press that down. Let that get a hold, just like so. Okay, so there's that. And then we've got this little piece here, and we're gonna use this to create the nice little lip so that ultimately the table that this is gonna be connected to is gonna sit nicely on top of that. It's not gonna skew or warp the box. Okay, so what we wanna do here is, well, we gotta be kind of careful here. And I'm going to apply the glue onto this piece first here. Okay, we're just gonna do one side. And I'm gonna spread that glue nice and thin. And you wanna make sure that you get that glue out to the very edges too, right in the corners. There we go. Okay, now just take one side of this, I'm going to flare that up a little bit, one side, and just get that connected nicely and evenly. Make sure that you've got it nicely aligned, nice and straight, all the way through. And just kind of sandwich it between your fingers. Make sure it's getting good contact all the way up and down here. And that part kind of needs a little extra love there. You can see my little corner here is peeling up slightly, and I'm just going to fix that with a scrap piece of paper. It's actually like chipboard, but that's fine. And I'm just going to throw a little bit of glue right on the very edge of this, and just lift this up slightly. Just paint a little bit of glue right on that section there, and then press that down. And I'm just going to hold that in place for a few extra seconds just to make sure that it really sits nicely for me. Okay, perfect. So now I should be able to flip this up. Okay, and then we can apply our glue on the other three sides here. Just be real delicate here with the glue. Don't overdo it. Definitely try to work it out all the way out to the very corners here, the edges. Okay, and then of course I'm going to take my finger and just smooth that glue out and try to make sure that I'm getting good coverage on this entire little piece here. Just like that. And we can always go in and do a little bit of cleanup if we have to. And just like we did with the bottom, I'm going to focus on getting this other side lined up like that. Okay, and then work the sides and the other side. You gotta work kind of quick. You can just kind of squeeze that between your fingers like you're almost like you're making a pie crust. And there we go. I can tell that summer's creeping in because I've got like 2,000 watts of lights in here, and it starts to warm up really quick. I can feel myself starting to sweat. I might have to get kind of a quiet fan in here. Okay, now I can tell that one little area here is kind of lifting up away. I'm going to clean that up with just a little bit of glue on a scrap piece of paper. Maybe that was a little too much. And just jam it right in there and just paint the underside of that top layer. Okay, and then just press that down and just hold that in place for a few extra seconds. This little corner just needed a little extra loving. Okay, so now we've got a nice little lip here for the table to rest on, and I found another little spot here where I'm going to paint a little more glue. I can go from this side as well. Well, maybe this side will be easier actually. There we go. And just press that down, give that a second to set, and there we go. Okay, so there is the main structure, and this is what's gonna hold our gift. Okay, now there are, again, a few little overlays that we're gonna put on the front right here like that. Now let's just put this stuff, just put it together real quick. We can put it off to the side. I'm not gonna pop dot this on there just yet because we still have to kind of construct everything, and I don't want to potentially ruin it while I'm actually putting everything together. But we'll grab this little piece. It looks like a really long Tic Tac. Okay, there's two of them. And you'll see here on this silver piece that there are some guides to help you with the positioning of this piece. Now this piece is getting glued down flat. We're not going to raise this with foam squares. It's kind of maybe too small to do anyway. And we'll repeat the same thing with the second one. Okay. There we go. And just center that right inside those little guides, like so. Okay, now these pieces here, these little diamonds, we're gonna put this on, whoops, almost dropped it. We're gonna put these in place, but we're actually gonna zot these. Okay, so these are gonna be kind of extruding a little bit. Well, the red layer, I'm gonna glue directly onto the black layer, but then the black layer, I'm going to put a couple zots behind, and then we're gonna zot those into place so that we get some good dimension there. And this little inner diamond, just make sure you get it nice and centered. Look at the points on all the sides here. Just make sure that they line up with the points on, in my case, the black piece, whatever your color may be. Just want to make sure you get those aligned. Okay, and same thing with this one. And I'll probably just zot these right now just to get it ready for when the time comes. Okay. And there we go. Get that nice and centered. Perfect. Okay, let's flip these guys over. I've got my foam squares handy, so I may as well just take care of this real quick. And I think just based on the surface area here, I'm gonna do 2, just so it doesn't wobble too much. I'll space them out just a little bit, just like that. It's probably good. Throw one there, and another one about here. Okay, now where's my X-Acto? There you are. Move that out of the way, and just peel off the backing on these guys. And just get these situated. We'll put them off to the side until we're ready to kind of well, just finish this piece off after it's mostly assembled. So again, there are a series of little score marks here to help you with the placement, just to make sure that you've got it nice and centered. We want everything to be as precise as possible. Okay, just like that. And we'll do the same thing on the other one. Get it nice and lined up. And bam, right there, just like that. Okay. Fold that out a little bit. All right, so again, these are gonna get foam squared to the front here like that once all said and done. I'm gonna put this off to the side for now. We're actually done with this for now. We can begin putting together the next section, which in this case is gonna be our little table, okay? So that is this piece here. I've already kind of started to pre-fold things just to speed things up a little bit. And you know, with a piece like this, it's helpful to move what will ultimately be the bottom. Just kind of move that out of the way. And we can start by putting this together. So what we want to do is just throw a little bit of glue on this little triangular tab that's closest to this large piece. Okay, and just fold that in and tuck it right behind its neighbor here. Just make sure you keep it nice and aligned here on the corner. And just press that gently. Okay, so you should be able to see that there. Just kind of connecting the two sides together. And that seems to have a good hold already. And we're going to do the same thing with this little triangular tab here. Just going to dab that slightly. And just tuck that right behind the neighbor there. Let me fold this back one more time just to loosen up those fibers a bit. Okay, there we go. Just make sure it's nice and aligned. And give that a squeeze. Okay, so far so good. And that just leaves two more little triangular tabs on this side. Same idea, same process. Just get your glue right on that little tab and just tuck it in and glue it to this wall on the shorter side, on the inside. Okay, just hold that until it's nice and set. That looks good. And then finally, our last little tab here, same thing. Okay, just dab that a little bit. There we go. And get that connected. And just press and hold that until it's nice and set. And we've got a nice little dimensional rectangle here that's going to act as basically the little table that, I guess more or less the little wings on either side of the grill where, you can put your utensils or your plates and things of that nature. I guess one thing that would be cool is if you cut out a plate and maybe even with add some paper ribs to it or something. That could be cool. But either way is fine. Okay, so now we're going to close this up just like that. And we're going to do that well, we kind of already did this on the base of our box. So I'm going to do my glue on the large part of our tab here, and then I'm going to do a nice fine line. I need to squeeze this out. Nice thin line right up along the edge here. Now, I'll kind of discuss something here in a second. I just don't want to lose my focus as I do this. There we go. And the last line. This piece that we're folding over right now, I'm going to use this as the bottom, the part that you are not going to see from the top, because the other side of this that already has another long piece is already kind of constructed for us, so it's going to be more perfect. And we're going to use that and show that instead of this side where there's potential for human error. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and fold this down. And again, just like we did with the box, focus on this side here, the side opposite of where that hinge already exists, and try to get that nice and lined up. And then work the sides. And you may need to kind of nudge things in depending on how precise your gluing of the little tabs was. It seemed to do okay. And mine's turning out okay. I'm kind of just trying to keep that downward force on all the edges so that nothing comes peeling up while that glue begins to set. Worst case scenario, we can always go in and paint a little bit extra glue in any areas that may be lifting up, but I want to see if maybe we can just get it all done in one fell swoop here and not have to clean anything up. And so far, so good. I don't see anything pulling up, and that was a job well done. Okay. All right, so we have what is going to be the table, like the top of the grill here. Okay, and of course, it would look pretty dull if it was like that. So we've got some goodies that we're going to put on this. We're going to actually create a little grill for it. Okay, so that looks really cool. And I think what we can do You know, it doesn't really matter. We can glue this to the black first and then glue that all together, or we can glue this to the red first and then glue the silver to the black. I think I'm going to do that first. I'm going to glue this on first because this is a little more stiff. This, the black AC cardstock always is a little bit more stiff compared to the other colors, which I like. Sometimes I'll notice that when I'm cutting AC cardstock, it won't cut on the same setting as the colored paper. And I think it's just maybe, I don't know, I think the dye is just thicker. Something weird like that. Okay, try to get that glue out to the edge. Okay, and our job here is just to make sure that we get this nice and centered, nice and aligned, right out to the very edge. Should be nice and flush all the way around. And I don't remember if I even took my own advice and used the top, the side that was already constructed, but you know what? I think I put it together so nicely that I don't think it really matters. And plus, kind of covering it up with this piece anyway, so. Well, that looks nice. Okay, that looks really good. Okay, now, I think we can go ahead and put our silver piece on. That looks great. I'm doing pretty good today. Okay. All right, so the idea here is, well, we got a lot of area to cover, and we've got a lot of little nooks and crannies here that we need to fill as well. So I think logically, the best thing to do is start with a little bit of a heavier amount of glue along the perimeter here. And because we're going heavier, it's going to take longer to dry, which is okay because we're going to have to work some little details here in the center. And then that way, while this stuff's drying, we don't have to worry about it splotching out. Now, I'm not going to try to cover every single inch of this. I'm just going to do some dots going all the way around. And then I'm just going to try to put some dots here and there all over this thing. I mean, if you try to cover all this up, everything's going to be dry. You could, if you want, maybe do like a spray adhesive or something for this piece, but I think this is fine. You don't need to get it on every single little grill piece on here. I think this will work just fine. Okay, so let's grab that. And we do want to do our best to get this aligned. Let me bring this more in the center here. Oops. And if we have to go in and do a little of our painting, we can do so. And luckily this glue dries clear, because as you saw there, I didn't have it aligned perfectly, and some of that glue just kind of shot out, but that's fine. It'll dry clear, it won't even be noticeable, especially because they're tiny little dots. But that looks good so far. Okay, so I'm just kind of checking my work here, and everything looks good. I've got maybe a few little areas on the corners here where I think I can probably do a little bit better. So I'm just going to paint a little bit of glue right underneath these little areas that maybe aren't sitting completely flush. And just press those down, especially the front. And now let me spread that a little thinner, okay? And just pop that right under there. Get a little bit of glue on the underside. Oops. Wipe that up before I get it on something else. And that looks good. Okay, cool. So there's that, and then we do have some more little stuff here to really complete this whole look. We got this little piece here that we're going to glue like this. Okay. And want the little teeth here nice and flush with the base. Okay, so what I would suggest doing is, well, yeah, just start on the front. Go real easy on the glue because we are gluing it to a black surface and we don't want that stuff popping out. And I'm just going to do dots because these are just really small little areas really tiny little dots of glue. And then, of course, we're going to need to do a very thin little line here. It's almost coming out perforated, which is kind of cool. And then I'm going to take and just kind of spread that thin. Okay, and again, the teeth, you want the teeth pointing down. You can kind of use your table as a guide. Get the corners lined up, and then you can kind of nudge that middle piece there, the middle section of this piece, I should say. Oops. There we go. Just like that. And if you have a few of these little teeth that maybe are sticking up, you can always go in and just kind of clean that up. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And I can see that some of them are sticking up, so I'm just going to grab my little scrap piece here, and if they're sticking out or not glued down all the way, just throw a little extra glue on them and press them into place. Like this guy here, he didn't want to play nice, but now he has no choice. Okay. All right, so you can see here the little corner. We're going to get that glued down. Just going to throw a little bit of glue on there. That was way too much. Spread some of that off. And just fold that over and onto the piece, the red piece. Okay. And there's a little too much glue there. I'll wipe that off with my X-Acto. There we go. Okay, and other side here, I'll get that glued into place. Just press that over, and then we have two more pieces that are going to go along both sides to finish this off. Okay, so these are going to go like so, just like that. All right, so let's get our glue on the remaining little teeth here. And along the little strip that connects everything. I'm just going to dab these nicely so I don't get a giant explosion. Okay. And just find one corner, then find the other corner. Make sure it's nice and aligned, and then you can just kind of put that down on your surface and press down. Get that all in place there. And I'm just gonna kind of hold these down. Here we go. Okay. That looks good. And the last side here, same thing. And after this, we're going to put the little utensils together, although I don't think I'm going to glue them on just yet, because I want to put the lid on first so that I know where the lid sits, so that I don't inadvertently hide the utensils because I didn't place them correctly. So we'll assemble them, but we'll wait to put them on until maybe the last step. Okay, and then I'm just kind of pushing down. Sorry if my fingers are a little out of focus. It's a little bit higher than I anticipated, but that's fine. Okay, all right, cool. So that looks pretty sharp. And you know, I've got a little area here where it looks like the foil is kind of coming off of the backing, which I don't know if I've ever had that happen before. It might be because I kind of ran my finger across it, maybe to just roughen it up a little bit, but that fixed it. Okay, and then I've got one more little piece here that isn't really sitting. So just checking my work, making sure that I'm doing the best I can, focusing on all the little details. And there we go. Okay, So there is the top part of our grill. And that looks pretty sharp. And believe it or not, that is pretty much it for that. So everything's going to be hinged, but that is going to sit like so once we get it all together. Okay, and then we're going to have the top of the grill here in just a moment. So we can put that off to the side. Let's take a look at our little utensils. Very straightforward. It's kind of just like putting a little puzzle together, except it's a very easy puzzle. So we've got a spatula, and we've got a little grilling fork. And the black piece is your little shadow layer. And we're just going to take our little silver piece and glue that into, well, the most obvious place, right on top of its little match, the little shadow part. I'm just going to do a few little dots here, especially on the little centers here because they're so delicate and small. Whoops. I don't want to glue it to my fingers. Okay, so just line that up nicely, like that, and press that down, and we even have a nice little silver handle. I'm going to grab my pick-me-up tool for that, and I put, whoa, geez. Oh, geez. Let's try that again. Let's wipe that up. Okay, so I put a little bit of glue on there. It's a little bit too much, so I'm just dabbing it on a little blank piece of paper to kind of flatten it out and not have as much glue on there. And then I'll just place that right onto the edge of the handle. And that is not even in the right place. So I gotta scooch it around a little bit. There we go. Okay, so there's our little spatula. And let's do the fork. Tiny little fork. It's all in the details. There we go. It is a pretty little piece here, so if you want to use a pick-me-up tool even for the fork part, I encourage you to do that. Whatever makes your life easier. There's no right or wrong. I don't think there's any rules as to how to best do this. I had a little bit of glue that shot out there, so I'm kind of just cleaning it up. Okay, there we go. There's our little fork. And of course, the little tip where the handle is. Let's get that on there. That should do it. And there we go. Perfect. Okay, so we can hold on to these for later. We'll put these on right at the end, but they're gonna go right on there like that. That's gonna look really nice once it's all done. Okay, so on to the last little section here, and that's gonna be our, well, the actual lid. Okay. And this one should go pretty quick. We'll do some things here before we assemble it. So take a look at this and you'll see that you've got kind of two pieces that look the same, and then a small piece and then a medium piece. This is going to be the top, this is going to be the back, this is going to be the front, and it's going to look like that. Okay, and then we've got two sides here that are going to go on like this, I think. No, not like this. Okay, so that's fine. We can put that together right now. And then, okay, so best way to do this, and again, this is going to be our front. Okay, so this is going to go right here. Okay, so let me lay this out so it makes sense to you. Okay, so again, really thin piece here. This is a tab, and then a thin piece, large piece, medium, large, a tab. So we want the side with the smallest section at the bottom. That's going to line up with this little tiny section here, and then this is going to go here at an angle, obviously. So I think the best thing to do right now is to get this connected first. So let's do that. Let's start with, and actually, you know what we should do? We should start with the largest tab. That's going to help us be more accurate. So throw a little bit of glue right there on that tab there, and then a nice little line right up to the edge. I'm going to fold this back so that I can spread this out. Okay, and then we're going to do our best to just get this lined up as accurately as possible. Give that a second, and then we can fold it over onto itself to kind of make sure that we got it lined up nicely. And we did. Okay, that looks good. All right, so you see what's going to happen here. This little tab here, this triangular one, is going to get glued right there, like that. But let's do the other side next, just to get that out of the way. So same thing here. Glue on this tab, nice little line right up to the edge. Okay, and again, I'm going to paint that out to the very edge. Maybe a little dab there in the corner. Okay, and if it helps, take a look at how you have the other one positioned. Make sure that the other side here mirrors it exactly. I think that's a good way to do it. And there we go. Press that down. Okay, and we can fold it over onto itself. Check our work. And give that an extra press. Really get that to stick. Okay, perfect. All right, now, before we start making this thing dimensional, there are some little, there's some little things we can do to get this ready. And we do have some little panels that are going to go on the sides here. So let's just get those on here right now while it's flat. I always tend to do better work when I can use a flat surface to kind of push things down. Otherwise, I risk kind of warping paper, warping the entire project. Obviously, we don't want that. Okay, so take a look at this space here and just try to do your best to get that nice and centered, nice even border all the way around. And run your fingers along the perimeter. Make sure it's making good contact, and voila. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Man, this glue is really sporadically, it's kind of just has a mind of its own. Not even sure what kind of condition, medical condition this thing has. Maybe it's just hung over. Okay, nice even border all the way around. And there we go. Okay, I think the rest of this, I'm going to apply all the other panels after the fact. Yeah, I think we'll do that later. Okay, so let's finish the assembly on this dimensional piece here. And we can start with this little small triangular tab here on the bottom. Hopefully you can see that. You know, let me zoom out a little bit now that we're getting into the main construction here. Okay, so little tiny triangular tab here towards the front of the top of our grill. Get your glue on there, and then just fold this over and try to match that up so it's nice and flush with the face. Give that a squeeze for just a second. Okay. There we go. Yeah, it's looking good. All right, same thing on this side. Let's get our glue on this little triangular tab. I think it's going to be close to retirement time for this bottle of glue here. Okay, so again, just get that nice and lined up there. And just press that down, nice and aligned. And hold for just a moment, let it set. And then we're gonna have these tabs here at the bottom for the bottom that we're gonna put on here in just a minute. And our bottom is actually gonna be done in black with some flames. Okay, so next we can glue this section here, which would be the top. And you should be able to see that, yep. There we go. Get your glue on this tab here. Nice little line right out to the edge. Yeah, I'm just gonna move that out of the way so I don't get glue where I don't want it, just like I just did. Okay, we're gonna tuck that behind. Make sure that it's nice and level, nice and aligned. And, okay, good, you're just fighting me today, aren't you? Okay, I can put that down on my table and press down from the inside. That'll keep it from warping this thing. Okay, move over to the opposite side here. Same tab, just on the opposite side. Get our glue on there. Work a little bit out to the very edge. And just get that out to the edge. Just like that. Okay, and get that nice and lined up and connected. Like that. There we go, perfect. And I'll place that down on my surface and push down from the inside. If you want, you can really get into that little corner with a pencil or a dowel, whatever it may be. Okay, so that's almost done. That just leaves these two tabs here. We're going to glue those in place like that. Okay, so 2 more tabs. Put a bottom on this thing, and then we can start really putting this thing together, which will be pretty easy actually. So, all right, we're going to slide that underneath and just get that nice and lined up. And just press that down. Okay, and then once it sort of gets a hold there, you can put that down on your surface and push from the inside to really push that glue into the little nooks and crannies there. And the last tab here, you can kind of pull this out just a little bit, and we may need to kind of slip our nozzle into that little crevice there. Or you could always, while that's sitting there, throw a little glue on our scrap piece of paper and just paint that out to the very edge there. Bam. Okay, and get that nice and aligned. It's kind of an odd shape. I don't know that we've ever done a shape like this, like a box that's shaped like this. That's okay though. Perfect. Okay, and again, pushing down from the inside, making sure it's still nice and aligned, and it is. Okay, so there is our little grill top. Okay, should be in focus, yep. Okay, so that just leaves the bottom. Okay, now here's where you got to kind of pay attention. So this is going to be the front of the grill, and when you open the grill, it's going to open up like this. Now the idea here is that the bottom of this is going to be black, and we're going to put some flames in there. So it looks like it's kind of like, well, it's being used. You know, there's some flames coming out. So we're going to glue the flames onto the black piece first, but when we attach this black piece to the bottom, we want to make sure that our flames are not upside down. Okay, so it's really simple. It's either you get it right or you get it upside down, and we're going to try to avoid getting it upside down by just being conscious of the direction that we're holding the actual lid and the orientation of this piece. And we do want the flames to be at the bottom, nice and aligned with the bottom of this black piece. So I'm kind of using my table to help me with the vertical alignment. And that looks good. And I'm going to flip it over here. Just make sure that everything is nice and flush. There we go. And press that down. There we go, flames. That looks good. Okay, now again, so our grill is going to open up like this. We want our flame standing up, right? So we're going to take and glue it down. So let's start here. Let's start with this tab. Nice little line right up to the edge. And let me pull this back. Get it right out there. Okay, again, make sure your flames are up. And just get that nice and centered there. Just like that. Get out of the way, Tab. Okay. Now what you can do is once it kind of gets a hold, we can put that down on our surface and press down like that. There we go. And there we go. All right, so the grill opens up and we got flames. Okay, now we're going to close this up by putting glue on the remaining 3 tabs, just like we've done a handful of times here already. I'm going to get my glue here. And of course, nice thin little line right out to the edge. And it is raining again. I swear it's been raining all spring. I've had maybe a handful of days where it hasn't rained. It's been kind of nice, but also kind of a drag, especially when the weekend comes and you have friends over, but what are you gonna do? All right, so flare these up just a tad, bring this down, focus on this side, the opposite side of where it's already hinged. Make sure that that is nice and straight, nice and flush, and then work the sides. Just like that. Okay, beautiful. All right, so that's coming together. And just be patient here. Make sure that it's making good contact all the way around before we move on here. Okay, so far so good. All right, so that just leaves, well, some of the little embellishments and overlays for this piece, one of which is this piece here. Okay, and what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start with the top. So I'm gonna glue just the top down first, like that. And then of course we want the top to sit, the back part of the top to sit nice and flush. We don't want it peeling back, so I'm getting my glue all the way out to the back as far as I can go. Before we put the top down, maybe just set the face down and try to get it nice and centered. Okay, and then go ahead and press that down into place. Make sure it's nice and flush with the back. Okay, and I think I'm allergic to this glue because my nose starts to itch. I'm curious if anybody else, while they're crafting with the Scotch tacky glue, if it makes your nose itch when you touch it to your nose. Let me know in the comments. It's probably the weirdest thing I've ever asked, but hey, I'm very curious, I guess. Okay, so now we can peel this part back and we can get our glue on this part here. And of course, we want to focus on the bottom edge here. We want to make sure that that sits nice and flush, doesn't come peeling away, and then kind of work the interior a little bit, like so, and just flap that right over. And there we go. Just like that. That looks pretty good. Okay. There we go. Beautiful. That's looking good. I did solid score lines on this piece with my Cricut. Everything else is perforated. I don't think you can really tell, but this part, solid score line really helped there, just to make it look cleaner. Okay. All right, so that just leaves a few more little pieces here for the front of the grill. We've got this little black piece that's going to go on the inside of this little scalloped circle that's cut out of the front of the grill face. So just get your glue on there and just position that nice and centered. Do your best to get that nice and centered. I don't think we have any markers on there. And then there's a little diamond It's going to go right in the center of that. We do have a marker for that to help you get that nice and centered, like that. Okay, perfect. And then we do have a little panel for the front, which technically I think is like the handle. And I've got a black piece and a silver piece. I'm going to glue the black piece down onto the silver piece. The silver piece does have little markers to help you with the positioning of the black piece. So we're going to do that. Just pop that right in place. There we go. Oops. Jeez, mister. There we go. Okay. This foil is really slippery. All right, and then this is going to get glued right onto this surface here, like so. Yeah, this foil, it's kind of pulling away in the areas where it was cut. It's like it wasn't glued down. I'm just going to fix that real quick. I don't like how that looks, and it's almost impossible to fix too. Jeez, foil, what are you doing? All right. All right, so throw our glue on the back of this. Make sure that you get some glue out to the very edges so that doesn't come peeling off. I'm just gonna brush that on with my finger. And this is a symmetrical piece, symmetric. So it doesn't matter if it's up or down, left or right. Just get it nice and centered onto the face of the smaller little section here. And press and hold that down for just a moment while it sets. There we go. Okay, look at that. Very cool. Take a look at the final photo because we're gonna add some rhinestones and some pearls in various areas just to kind of add some little details to really bring this thing to life. But we've got all three pieces here, and now it's time to put it all together. All right, last step here. So this is the piece that is going to kind of keep everything together, and we're going to glue the three segments to it, okay? Starting with the bottom. Okay, so obviously, we're going to put these on later. That's going to be your bottom. This is going to be the table. It's going to be the top, the lid, and what we're going to do is we're just going to glue this on one piece at a time, like that. Okay, so I think the best thing to do is, well, just start gluing. So let's throw some glue on the largest segment here, and you're going to want to get that glue out to the edges as closely as you can, and just a little bit in the center. I don't want to warp the paper too much. A little is going to go a long way, and if we need to go in and kind of paint the perimeter, we can. Okay, so just make sure that you've got the lid here, or the opening here, and just pop that on the back. Make sure it's the back, not the front. Okay, and just kind of scooch that around until you have it nice and aligned. Okay, and then we can put it down on our surface here and press down from the inside, especially right up here where the hinge is going to be. Okay, that looks good. That looks really good. Okay, so now, let me move my fork and my spatula. So the grill is going to be towards the back. Okay, so when we glue this down onto this thin little strip here, I'm going to make sure that the grill is towards the back. Okay, so with that said, let's get some glue on this long strip. And there's a lot of fire departments outside right now. I wonder what's going on. I almost want to listen to the police scanner and see what's going on out there. Doesn't sound good. Okay, again, making sure that the grill is towards the back. This is the front, this is the back, and just kind of get that into place. Okay. And I'm just gonna lift this up now, take a look on the back and kind of scooch this strip around a little bit if necessary, just to make sure that I've got it nice and aligned, nice and flush with the base, making good contact throughout. Okay, just like that. That is a job well done. Okay, there we go. Table's sitting nicely. Okay, and that just leaves our lid, which is going to get glued like that. Okay, so we could probably pull this back like so and get our glue on here. And just work the perimeter. Make sure that you get enough glue out to the very edges here. We want that to sit nice and flush. And also right here. Okay. And I'm going to pop this down on my surface like so. And get that nice and centered. And of course we're going to have to, we'll lift this up once we know that we've got it centered. Just like that. And wow, look at that. That matched up perfectly right up at the top. Well, kudos to the Dreaming Tree team, Ron for the amazing designs, and Diana for the impeccable engineering. This came out perfect. I'm really happy with how this turned out and how it came together. Okay, we're gonna let this kind of simmer for a second before we start opening and closing it. I want this glue to really set. Okay, and in the meantime, there's our cute little grill. Let's get our spatula and our fork glued down. And I'm just gonna do a few dots here and there. And again, as I mentioned, take a look at the final photo and the trailer to see where we added some embellishments. And if you want to kind of replicate that, you're welcome to. And just get that nice and centered here on the little table, like that. Okay, and where did my fork go? Okay, there we go. Oh, and there's also the little pieces for the front that we said we were going to use some foam squares on. And again, you see how it's kind of jostling this thing around. I didn't want those on there because we're, pushing here and pushing there, and I didn't want them to get all crinkled and crumbled. Okay, now I'm taking a look at where the handle is on that side. I know I can center it well, and I'm just going to place that right about there. Yeah, about there. Okay. And perfect. Okay, so there's that. And we can put this down. And again, we're gonna use some foam squares to put this on, and I'm gonna put the foam squares out on the four corners here. I think 4 is gonna be enough to hold this in place nicely. There we go. Okay, and let's pull the backing off of this. You're just going to repeat this process twice because there's 2 of them, 2 little doors. One probably is where you've got your propane tank, and then the other one maybe for some spices and maybe the cleaner. Okay, so this is going to be the little handle, so that's going to be on top. And while this thing's still drying, I'm going to stand up and do this so I don't mess anything up. And you do have some little markers there to help guide you and make sure that everything goes on precisely. There we go. And same thing on the other side. So that just about wraps it up. You can definitely fit a gift card. I think I could even fit some spices in here because my dad is quite the grill master. As I mentioned, he's smoking. I got him a smoker and he's constantly grilling and smoking meat. He actually built a smoker once, but it was so big that he really needed to smoke a lot of meat in it, and he hasn't been using it as much. He actually demolished it, demoed it, and I got him a smaller one so that You know, he doesn't have to spend a whole weekend doing it. He can just smoke something whenever he wants. Supposedly, he really likes it. Okay, so let's get that nice and lined up next to the other one. There we go. And voila. So, again, there it is. I think it looks pretty BA, as the kids say. And you can tell here, so that's going to open up. That's going to open up like that, and then of course your compartment's going to open up like that. Bam. I really like this thing. I think it's cool. I think dads will appreciate it. I think anybody that you call a grill master would love it, would love to get a gift in it. I'm sure they would display it. And yeah, not too hard at all. Fun little project, very easy, and will definitely be appreciated by your recipient. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button. That lets me know that you enjoy crafting with me. And if you make this or anything from our Grillin' and Chillin' bundle, we'd love to see it. So join us in the official Dreaming Tree group on Facebook by doing a search for Dreaming Tree group in your Facebook search bar. You can join myself and the 12,000 plus dreamers that inspire us daily. So thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to crafting with you again. Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.